How does our membership of the EU lessen, as has been said, our commitment to NATO?
Well, I think what it does, it draws us into what is an inevitable EU military union within the EU, which has been declared in a number of different treaties, including the Treaty of Lisbon, and has been stated as an aim by a number of EU leaders. And of course, we are fully integrated already in the EU military staff, in the EU Defence Agency, even though the Prime Minister said in 2010 that he was going to leave the EU Defence Agency, and the EU Battle Group, which we saw exercising in England only last week.
Right, but I'll ask you again, how does it lessen our commitment to NATO? Why can't we be part of both the EU and NATO?
Well, what it does is to compete with NATO, and France and Germany.
In what way does it compete with NATO?
Well, because it draws money from NATO. No European government is going to expend more defence money than it was already spending. Quite the reverse, in fact. And they're going to build an EU military union, and a lot of money that goes into NATO now will go into that EU military union. That will also be concerning to the Americans. And Barack Obama was only a couple of weeks ago in Germany telling Angela Merkel that she had to pay more into NATO. They're already worried about the amount that goes into NATO. I think that when the Americans realise what is going to happen with the EU military union, they themselves will begin to draw back from NATO as well. And that's the one alliance that's kept the UK and Europe safe since the Second World War, not the EU.
Right, but the UK government is still very committed to NATO, as are other members. So how would our defence capability and level of security improve? If you could give us some examples if we left the EU.
Well, on the security front, for example, currently we have to allow any EU citizen to come into the UK. To freely travel into the UK, we can check their passports, we have to let them in unless we can prove conclusively that they represent an immediate threat to the life and livelihood of the UK.
Right, but we're not part, of course, we're not part of the Schengen area in that sense, because
no.
You seem to be implying that we do have to let anybody in who wants to come here. We're not part of Schengen.
We have to let them in unless we can prove that they're a direct threat, which is hard to do because often that's based on secret intelligence. If they're EU citizens, if we leave the EU, then of course we will have the ability to prevent them coming if we believe that they're a threat to us. People who have fought, for example, with the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. Having all these large number of people coming in puts our intelligence services under enormous stress, even greater pressure than they're already under.
Do you accept that actually many of the threats from terrorism have come from people who were British born and who were already here?
Yes, I do accept that. That's very true. And what we don't want to do is add to that problem by continuing to allow those people who threaten us to come into the UK from Europe if we can stop them. We can't stop them now.